Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name's Joni Young and I'm an acrylic artist and instructor. Today I'm going to be showing you how to paint sunlit falls. Now this is a time-lapse quicker version of the full-length tutorial I've got up on Patreon right now. We're working on a black primed canvas. This is an 18 by 24. You can use any color that you want. It doesn't have to be black. I just really like painting on black canvases. You can build up shadow and contrast very quickly and easily by doing this. So we're going to go over the colors right now. I'll list them all below in the description in case you miss anything. We've got phthalo green, purple, cobalt blue, cerulean blue, lemon yellow, sap green and hooker's green, and yellow ochre and white. I've got a large 3-inch blending brush, chalk brush, and I'm going to take some of my yellow and white and start creating the light up in the sky first. Now this is just going to be light little circles up in the top left corner, and then I'm going to start coming in with some of the bushes way off in the distance using a little bit of my cerulean blue. I'm going to tap and I'm going to start blending around light little circles and scumbling. Now I'm going to start giving the indication of waterfalls and mountains way off in the distance by just pulling and flicking with my brush, sort of in a diagonal angle, and then I'm going to go along the bottom. I'm going to be adding my phthalo green with white for the water, where the waterfalls are falling into, of course. I'm going to grab a little bit more of my cerulean blue and my purple. I'm going to tap a little more and then pull a little bit more here, increasing the white in my brush to make these waterfalls look a little bit brighter. Then what I'm going to do is turn my brush on the side, and you can see this a lot better in the slower real-time version, but I'm just using the very edge of the brush and I'm pulling and wiggling to create skinnier angles and lines for my waterfalls, and then I'm just going to blend it out across the bottom to create that mist. Now I'm coming in with a fan brush, my phthalo green, and a little bit of white. So I've got lots of little half circles here that I'm pulling and flicking down for more of the waterfalls. Some are going to be skinnier and some are going to be wider. So you can use the full length of your of your fan brush to create the wider waterfalls, and then just use the corner of it or the turning it sideways. So just play around with your brushes and see all the different angles and widths you can get by doing that. It's a really great brush and it's a must-have brush. It's one of my top 5 brushes, and I'll leave a link below for that video so you can see if you're just beginning and you're wondering what brushes you should have. And I'm coming in with my yellow ochre, lemon yellow, and white now. I'm going to pull in some grass along the bank here for my foreground, and I'm going to bring in a little bit of my sap green as well. Now I've got a combination here of sap green and hooker's green. And where I want to have moss covered rocks, of course I'm just doing a little kind of half circle on the top. I'm going to be using a few different brushes for that. And then I'm going to bring up some of the greenery and moss covered rocks along the very edge and the right side, going up and tapering off to the right corner. I've got an interesting fan brush here. I just purchased this one at Michael's, and it's got little chunks missing out of it. It sort of looks like a rake, and I can't remember what this is called, but I do talk about it in my other full version of this video on Patreon. It's really nice for creating waterfalls because you get all those little lines in between. You get that separation, and you want to have that with waterfalls. You want to have a darker underneath base, and then coming in and building up to some highlights like I'm adding here with white. You can tint your white with any color that you want. You can choose the phthalo green, the purple, or the blue, or you can just keep it white if you like. I've got a clean large mop brush now that I'm just going to, and it's dry, and I'm just going to dust over with a little bit of white, a little bit of cerulean blue, and create that nice foggy mist back there. Doing this really helps to set everything in the background. It makes it look farther away, and that way the foreground really pops, and it will be extra detailed and crisp, and it just is a really fun way to create depth in a painting. So I'm taking my blues and my greens, and I'm just pulling and flicking and then tapping for some more foliage here on the side. I even added a little bit of purple in there too, just for fun. Back to my lemon yellow with another clean mop brush and some sap green. I'm going to tap in some highlights, brighten up some of this foreground here a little bit, and a little bit more on the rocks in the distance. So although I like this color, I want to add a little bit more of a cool green. So I'm going to find my neon green. Here we go. And I'm going to add that with my other greens and my lemon yellow with a little bit of white. So this will change up the tone and the hue a little bit. And I'm just going to tap over. Once this dries, it will be a little bit darker. It always is with acrylic paint. I'm going to use my fan brush now, and you can use any size fan brush that you want. This one's a number 9, I believe. And I'm just going to tap in and then slide sideways with my brush to create draping moss kind of vines, just kind of cascading down on the side of the rocks there. And then little vines and leaves along the edge. A little bit more yellow in here. And guys, don't ever underestimate the color of yellow ochre in a painting. Although it's not the prettiest color, for some reason it's really beautiful with any other color that you've got in a painting. I don't know what it is. It's kind of a mystery, but it is a great color and it's a must-have color. I think I should do an upcoming video on must-have colors. Anyways, I've got another blending brush here, mop brush, and I'm tapping in some blue and purple. Little bushes above those waterfalls and mountains, and then turquoise and cerulean blue, or I should say phthalo green with white. I made turquoise and mixing it with my blues. The cerulean blue is a really nice one. I just bought a brand new tube of it from Michael's. It's Winsor and Newton, and it's a really nice color. It's one that I don't use very often. I'm going to go over my highlights here on my waterfalls. Now if you notice, I'm kind of shaking. This video is really sped up, but I am shaking and kind of missing little areas to give it a sort of a ruffled, cascading look to these falls. Like there's lots of rocks that they're kind of just spilling over. And then I'm going to add some more mist down at the bottom. Now again, if you missed it and you're just hearing this now, this is a sped up version. I've got the full length version up on Patreon now, and it's available for all tier levels. I'll leave a link below for Patreon for you guys if you want to go and watch the full version of this. I've got a large dry chalk brush now, and I'm gonna mist again along the bottom, so it's got no paint on it. I'm just brushing very lightly and dusting over some of that wet paint. Okay, so now I've got my Filbert brush, taking my purple and my black, and I'm going to add a little bit of contrast and extra shadows down in here. Once it's cleaned off, I'm going to take a little bit of purple and white and brush a little bit of that over too. Now I picked up a little bit of that black. It was wet, but that's okay. I'm going to add a little rock right here, well, a big rock. Make that in front of those waterfalls. Add some more moss, mixing that yellow ochre with some sap green, and a few more rocks that are going to be covered in moss, and we'll add a nice bright highlight to them. Okay, I'm going to go over with some more waterfalls with that cool fan brush. And then dust a little bit of that bright white in the water, and above and behind around the edges of that big rock, making it look misty again. Add a little bit of my yellow and green for some moss hanging down the sides. Add a few more highlights behind these rocks here and at the base of the waterfalls. And then we'll come in with a tree. Okay, so right in here I'm just picking up some of my purple, my violet purple with some white, and I thought about creating some hydrangeas or any kind of purple flower foliage down here. I kind of just painted over it though. It didn't really fit, and but it's something you guys could add if you wanted. You could add some flowers to this landscape very easily. And I'm going to incorporate a little bit of my neon pink or neon red now, so you can use either or. I'm just going to take a clean Filbert brush, add a little bit of white to my neon red, and add it around the top and just the left side. Scumble it around carefully, and then add more of my yellow around the sun, and then come in with some bright titanium white. I'll then add some sun rays. I've got my large flat brush now. I'm going to take some white, a little bit more of my pink or neon red, water on my brush, pull and flick. You can create as many sun rays as you want. They're so much fun to paint, and I've got so many videos. I paint sun rays in most of my videos. It's kind of just my thing that I love to add. They bring so much peace and tranquility. So I play around with the colors in these sun rays, sometimes adding more white, sometimes tinting them a little bit more with some of my neon red, some of my yellow, and I really like, I have to say I really like how the sun rays look, kind of just falling on these waterfalls and all the little bits of colors that you get in there. It kind of is a very soft rainbow effect. So here I'm just going to play up on the color a little bit more, and you can see how when it starts to layer up over those blues, purples, and phthalo greens, it looks quite pretty. So I'm going to come in with the tree pretty soon. I'll just add a little bit more to the sun rays here, and then we'll start working on the base of the tree. And for the base of the tree, I'm going to be using my neon red with my black. But first I just want to finish this off right here with some bright titanium white. Okay, now I'm going to grab my small Filbert brush. This is a number 4. I'm going to take that neon red with a little bit of black, and I'm going to start the base, and it's going to be like a skinny half circle, goes up in a little hump along the bottom, and then I'm going to pull out 2 main lines for the tree trunk at the base, and I'm going to paint in the main thicker branches, and then I'm going to come in with a long liner brush. Now if you don't have a liner brush, you can definitely just keep using the Filbert. You can also use a small flat brush or a round brush. Some yellow ochre, a little bit of my yellow and greens, and just finish off some of the foreground here on the bottom. I want to make this really bright. And so in order to do that, to make it the brightest here at the base of the tree, behind the shadow part, I'm going to add a little bit more white than I normally would, because I know it's going to dry a little bit darker, so I really want it to show up. And that's going to give it that nice bright glow that we want against that contrast. And then a few little long half circles there just for some flat kind of rocks, and then make it look like there's more moss on those as well. Over to my longest liner brush that I have, I'm taking lots of water and both the neon red as well as the black, thinning the paint out and making it easy for that paint to flow into skinny long little branches. Then I'm going over to another mop brush. You can use any size you want. I've got both my sap green, a little bit of hooker's green in there, maybe some yellow, and this will be for the dark base of the leaves on the tree. And then I'll take another mop brush, one a little bit smaller, maybe even half the width, and now I'll be adding my highlights. So I'll be using white, the neon green, and my lemon yellow, tapping slightly on top and a little bit above. So you want to leave a a hint of that dark underneath. You don't want to totally cover that up. You want to be able to see both. I'll come in with my liner brush again and my branch colors, the neon red and black. Add a few more branches in so it looks like some are in front, and then we'll keep those other ones behind with the leaves covering them. So as I add the finishing touches to this painting, I want to thank you guys so much for joining me today. I hope you give this one a try, and don't forget to head over to Patreon to watch the full version of this. Please like this video and subscribe to my channel. See you next time, everybody. Bye for now.